It's no secret that the tech industry has had it rough this past year, from the tech bubble bursting to inflation and mass layoffs. And maybe you were one of the thousands of software engineers that were laid off. But I'm here to tell you, don't worry. In fact, I'm going to be speaking from experience in this video because I was once laid off. So I'm going to share the things that I did to make a successful comeback to the job market. I'm going to give you a step-by-step game plan to make yourself job ready, as well as advice on how to stand out from the competition. We'll go over resume and LinkedIn strategies to get you noticed by recruiters, as well as cover a proven study plan to help you with coding and behavioral interview questions. So with that being said, let's dive into the first thing you should do after getting laid off. The first thing you want to focus on is your resume. You know how people say, time to dust off that resume? Well, we're going to do more than just that. We're going to improve it. Of course, the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure everything on your resume is up to date. Update your recent experience, add any new skills you've learned, etc. After updating your resume, you're ready to start applying to jobs. But wait, not so fast. Don't start spamming your resume to every job posting on the internet. Instead, you want to take a more focused approach. Your goal should be to tailor your resume for each job that you apply to. Now, you're probably thinking, man, that's a lot of work. And it is, but it's worth it. Go through each of your past work experiences and try to find achievements, not just responsibilities, that match the skills the job is looking for. So read through the posting closely and identify common keywords the post is using. However, be careful not to overstuff your resume with keywords because this can make your resume sound messy and unfocused. Remember, a real human is going to be looking at your resume, so write your resume for humans, not bots. Another thing to mention here is to quantify your skills. Your achievements ideally should be quantified in some way. For example, instead of saying, I follow test-driven development and improve test coverage for the project, you can instead say something like, I increased the project's test coverage by 15%. You see how by quantifying the achievement, it makes it sound more impressive? Now, you don't have to do this for every bullet point on your resume, just use common sense and try to strike a balance. By taking the extra time to ensure your resume best reflects the main keywords and skills the job posting is looking for, you can easily set yourself apart from the other candidates applying to that job. The last thing I want to mention is to always include your LinkedIn profile on your resume. The idea here is to make it easy for recruiters to learn more about you as a candidate, which leads me to my next point. LinkedIn is a critical tool for job hunting, especially for software engineers. Almost everyone in the industry has a LinkedIn profile, but many treat it as an afterthought. As a self-taught developer, job hunting was hard for me at first, like really hard. And the only reason I got my first job was because of LinkedIn. If you're not using LinkedIn, then you're likely missing out on a bunch of opportunities. So the first thing you want to do on LinkedIn is to reach out to your network. You'd be surprised, but most people are willing to help. And who knows, maybe an old colleague or some recruiter you connected with years ago has a potential opportunity for you or can refer you to someone who might. So let it be known to the whole world that you're looking for new opportunities. The next thing you should be doing on LinkedIn is networking. You have to be proactive and put yourself out there. The easiest way I found is to look for technical recruiters around the city you live in or at companies you want to work at, and just send them a DM. Recruiters are always looking for new candidates to place, and by just reaching out to them, you're doing half of their job. In fact, I have a video I made going over the exact strategy I used to network on LinkedIn to land my first job. So check that out after this video. And if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. That would really help out the channel and push my video out to more people. Now let's take a look at how to properly prep for coding interviews. This is an area even seasoned engineers often struggle with because the default approach seems to involve quickly skimming through a data structures book and then diving into LeetCode to solve as many problems as possible. But there's more to it than that. In fact, over the years, I've pretty much figured out a tried and true study plan that works for me 100% of the time. And it really boils down to two things: fundamentals and studying with intent. Let me break it down for you. The first thing you need to do before anything is review data structures. Take the time to refresh yourself on these topics. Remember, these are the building blocks to everything in software. Make sure to focus on the most frequently asked data structures like trees, graphs, arrays, linked lists, but try to study as many as you can. And the best way to solidify this knowledge is to put it into practice. This leads me to my next point of studying with intent. What this means is to study with a plan, a goal, not just endlessly grinding problems. The simplest way I found to do this is to tackle the blind 75 list of questions. This list covers the top 75 questions asked among the biggest tech companies in the world. These questions also cover the various data structures you'll need to know, which is why this list is perfect for getting yourself back up to speed. The site even gives you a study plan for you to follow called Grind 75, which you can customize to fit your own schedule. The final thing I want to mention for this section is to follow a process when solving problems. If you can follow a step-by-step plan when solving coding problems, then you can make yourself more consistent because you'll have a structure to follow. The way to do this is to simply emulate a real-world interview scenario. That means timing yourself. Try to shoot for 30 minutes up to 1 hour, depending on the difficulty of the problem. And more importantly, make sure to voice your thoughts out loud. I know it's a little bit awkward to talk to yourself, but it really helps you solidify your thought process, and also in an actual interview setting, this is what you're going to be doing anyways. This includes asking clarifying questions and your thought process. The next thing you need to focus on is following a proven problem-solving formula. This is one that I've used to great effect. The first thing is to try to get a brute force out as quick as possible. It doesn't have to be pretty, just get a solution out. This sets us up to improve that solution. The best way to do that is to look at your brute force and try to identify choke points. Choke points are areas where your code is underperforming, so keep an eye out for nested loops, repeated work, stuff like that. See if introducing extra space can help improve runtime, and when in doubt, just use a hash map. And make sure to involve the interviewer in your thought process. They can and will provide hints for you. The best way to think of this is you're the driver and the interviewer is the passenger. You lead the discussion, but they can help with directions. By looking for these choke points and having a back and forth with your interviewer, you can optimize to get your final solution. By following this process for solving coding problems, you'll not only feel more confident, but also see an improvement in your overall problem-solving ability. And speaking of improvement, if you're looking for comprehensive coding interview prep, then check out TechInterviews.io. Unlike other services, we offer a comprehensive curriculum covering data structures, algorithms, behavioral interviews, and salary negotiation. We also place a focus on coding patterns, which provides proven techniques to break down and solve complex problems. With TechInterviews.io, you'll prep faster, retain knowledge better, and feel more confident the day of your interview. If that sounds interesting to you, then visit TechInterviews.io and use promo code TECH30 for a $30 discount. Link in the description below. Alright, back to the video. When it comes to preparing for coding interviews, most people just focus on the coding part, and that's it. But what if I told you you're setting yourself up for failure by doing that? You see, coding interviews are multifaceted. It's not all about coding. In fact, another big portion of these interviews is behavioral questions. And I see engineers ignoring this in their prep all the time. I've personally never had a coding interview that didn't start out with behavioral questions. So that begs the question, how exactly do you prep for behavioral interviews if you don't know what's going to be asked? Well, here are a few strategies that I use. First, start by looking for a list of most asked behavioral interview questions online to get an idea. I'll link one below that I've used before. The goal is to get an idea of what could be asked. The next step is to gather at least 5 questions that fit each of these categories: leadership, challenges, whether technical or not, and success stories, which just means stories of how you succeeded at something work-related. These are the most common categories that most interview questions fit into. Then practice writing out and rehearsing at least 2 answers for each question. I know it's time-consuming, but if you take the time to practice thinking and rehearsing various questions, you'll be less surprised during an actual interview. Doing this exercise also helps you reflect on your past experiences. So when you get into an actual interview setting, you'll have a bunch of stories that you can refer off the top of your head. By following this strategy, I was able to feel more confident and prepared during behavioral interviews because I knew I had a pool of stories I could pick from. I didn't feel surprised by any of the questions I was asked. You can't predict what is going to be asked, but you can get a general idea and prepare accordingly. All right, so these have been the 4 things that I did to get back into the workforce after getting laid off. The important thing to understand here is that getting laid off isn't the end of the world. I know it may seem like it, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just a minor obstacle. You may be down, but you're not defeated. And by following these 4 steps, I'm confident that you'll be able to land a new job and hopefully a higher paying one. In any case, I hope you found this video helpful. If there's any topics you want me to explore more in depth, particularly in the realm of software engineering and coding interviews, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.